by my old teacher, Sir Herbert Grierson, John Buchan's useful rewriting of Lockhart in one volume, and Hesketh Pearson's charming book distilling what was known about Scott at that time, up to the time he wrote, and the new and formidable work of American scholarship and insight that is due to come off the press within the next year or two from Professor Edgar Johnson. He is a man who compels our attention in all sorts of ways. I wouldn't go perhaps so far as the Edinburgh schoolgirl who, when asked to write an essay comparing Burns and Scott, said Robert Burns was one of nature's gentlemen, but Sir Walter was a gentleman in every sense of the word. But we know what she meant. There is something about the character, about the style of Sir Walter's life that one cannot help admiring and becoming involved in if one is at all interested in character and history and in the interactions between character and history. Nevertheless, though he is so fascinating as a character, as a lawyer, as an antiquarian, as a historian, as a poet, and as a novelist, it is mostly in that final category that I am fully interested in him and, as it were, committed to him. There is a new interest in Sir Walter developing among the more sophisticated literary critics, who I noticed when I read Hesketh Pearson's talk to you. I noticed that they were dismissed rather angrily as people who were denigrators of Scott. This is no longer true. The sophisticated critics, the phrase is Hesketh Pearson's, are no longer, or not all of them, anti-Scott. And if I can claim any right to have been honored by you with the presidency of this club for this year, it is because I have played some part, I think and hope, in reviving Sir Walter's reputation as a serious novelist among serious students of literature. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take up your time with what might be called a professional disquisition on the merits and demerits of Scott as a novelist. But I would like to spend a few minutes saying something about why I think he is important and why this new interest in his work has arisen. What was he after? What was the basic inspiration of his work? Why he's remembered as a novelist? I don't suppose, let us be honest together here this evening, that more than a small proportion of you here have read his novels since you were schoolboys or schoolgirls, if then. But nevertheless, there is something about the magic of his name and the nature of his reputation which attracts you. He was an Edinburgh man, a notable figure in the borders, a distinguished connoisseur of Scottish life and letters and national feeling. And this, I think, is sensed even by those who are not primarily concerned with his novels. But those same qualities which make us interested in him as a person, as a figure, as a symbol, enter into his work and give it its real significance. Scott began his life as a writer under the most unfavorable auspices. He fell a prey to the more mawkish kind of German Romanticism and translated a number of late 18th century bogus German imitation ballads full of all the standard Gothic properties of ghosts and squeaking bats and rattling chains, and it looked for a moment as though he would succumb to that mixture of sentimentality and Gothic extravaganza which almost destroyed his great contemporary Henry Mackenzie, our Scottish Addison, as Scott referred to him when he dedicated Waverley to him in 1814. Scott escaped from the morass of sentimentality by anchoring himself to the basic rhythms of country life as he knew it in the borders on his grandfather's farm, where you remember he was sent to recover from what we now know was polio, but what was then thought to be some malformation of the leg. We know that he rescued himself from dwelling too long in the world of Horace Walpole and the Gothic novel by drinking at the living waters of a genuine Scottish pastoral tradition. And when I say pastoral tradition, I don't mean shepherds and shepherdesses piping under trees a la Theocritus, because in many cases it was little more than that.